So sort of the two ways they get deployed. First, if you have a large network, we've talked a lot about SDN, but because of the nature of the industry that we're in and OT networks, there's no such thing as a homogeneous network. And we know that there's just not a lot of greenfield opportunities here. So we can seamlessly integrate with a legacy network. So if you've got unmanaged switches or managed switches in the network, that's fine. You lose the abilities that SDN has, but we will definitely work with that. If you have an existing VLAN infrastructure, we'll pass that information through. If you have any devices that are talking to, there's always going to be unmanaged switches in panels and things like that. Your network will continue to run. But what we've done is an easy way to segment your network. At the distribution level, you'll quite frequently see a Cisco 9300 Catalyst. It's the most common switch we see out on plant floors as far as rack mounted ones. And you can actually just activate it into OpenFlow mode. You put a controller in your virtualization stack, talk to that, and you have automatically segmented your network very, very easily. Everything that passes through this is under the same types of controls that I showed in the previous slides. Now, if your switches aren't all SDN capable, because not every single one is going to be, if you have a part of the network that is critical or a part that's problematic, you can either put an SDN switch on there, activate to it, and everything that's talking through that switch, you've got full visibility and control. When we work with legacy networks or traditional networks, you'll see that if there's east-west traffic that's not going through an SDN switch, we have very little visibility and control over that. But if you have east-west traffic that actually goes up through here, so one segment to another, we can actually provide some control and visibility to the devices that are communicating on that. So there's options. What we've seen with customers is they'll apply this to a small section of their network or something like that, see the value of it, and then start working their way through the rest of the plant. Transition over is super easy because of the way we present it and the fact that we and I'll get into that in another slide or two, but we've got some tools that allow you to very easily take a pre-existing network and get it into the SDN world. Now,
hey,
if you want to, yes, Carly.
Just to interrupt you real quick, we do have a question.
Sure.
So, do you want me to read it, or do you want to open your chat? Either one's fine.
Just read it. It's faster.
Okay. All right. Given that an end user has the Veracity controller on premise and is using the security appliance at a machine builder's facility during factory acceptance testing, can the Veracity Enterprise instance import the configuration of the security appliance so that it can be removed during site acceptance testing?
Oh, well, that's a really good question. Not today, but there are some very easy tools that are already in the controller that I'll get to in about 2 slides that make it, for a small machine or something like that, that make it actually pretty easy to not have to worry about that. And I'll get into that in just a minute how that works. So the direct import, not today, but there are some easy tools. So if you have the appliance, this is typically meant for smaller networks. So you'll see I've simplified the drawing here. It still works with unmanaged switches with the same constraints as the full OT network controller. You can still put other SDN switches on there, and we will have a version of our box that is just a switch and not the controller. So if you want to go that route, you certainly can, but it is optimized for simple installation. It's great for remote assets, small networks, problematic sections. So to finish out the question that was asked a minute ago, we have a tool within the controller called learning mode. And what this is you can look at existing traffic on a network, and it puts the switches into an unsecured state temporarily. And what this does is it allows all traffic to flow through the network, and we automatically generate rules. So if you have a machine that you're adding that was using the appliance that now you're putting into the full network, what you can do today is you can put that individual SDN switch into learning mode on that machine, and all the traffic that passes through that switch will generate a rule for, and then you put it back into operational mode, and you essentially have taken all of that configuration and just built it up automatically within the controller. The one thing we do recommend when using learning mode with an existing network is once you're done with that, go audit what you see. There is always junk traffic on every single network. Whether it be multicast stuff that's polluting it, or DLR beacons that are, running rampant throughout the network, or we've seen devices in IT that are trying to ping down to the OT network for some reason that we just want to block. You can block all that traffic. So apart from securing your network, this also tends to free up bandwidth on your network. So if you have this traffic, DLR rings and multicast are two real culprits when it comes to this. You can set your multicast so that it only gets to the endpoints that it really needs to get to. So you're multicasting out and there's 4 places it needs to go. You can block it from every single other place that's out there. And so this really can clean up your networking. VLANs were originally created to segment network traffic. They were not originally created as a security measure, which is one of the ways they're used now. But originally they were done to do that. We take care of all that. So you don't have to have these VLANs to protect, traffic from polluting one network or another. We do that automatically as part of this. Then once you're done with learning mode, we have something called system generated drop rules, which what we'll do is every time it sees new traffic, it will just write a drop rule to the switch, and it'll log it, audit it, but the switch then won't be querying the controller very often when it sees packets that it's seen in the past. So highly recommend that gets put into place.